The subject I would like to address in this video is something that is rarely talked about and is often ignored, and that is the subject in chess which has an enormous impact not only on our performance when it comes to chess but also on our everyday life, and that is the problem of getting addicted to chess. A lot of players may not be yet familiar with this phenomenon, especially people who have been recently introduced to the game. But the chances that if you have serious goals in chess and have been playing for a few years, you have experienced getting addicted to chess or have exhibited some sort of obsessive behavior dictated either by the enjoyment you get from playing and winning or the desire to achieve your goal in chess, whatever that is. So the purpose of this video is to help chess players overcome this obsession while achieving their goals and remaining strong players. Before I get into the exact steps I recommend to achieve this, I need to say a few words as to why this can be considered an addiction, and I realize there will be those of you who might say, oh, it cannot possibly be that bad. After all, chess is only a game and there are far worse things that you can be addicted to, for example, alcohol, drugs, etc. I, however, beg to differ. If chess is not an addiction, how come you end up playing online blitz for 4, 6, 8, 10, or even more hours per day, where you lose hundreds of rating points and in no way end up improving your play? Or you ignore your friends and family because you are again in some sort of involved in some sort of a chess activity? How come you spend hundreds of pounds or dollars playing and traveling to chess tournaments where you consistently perform badly or end up with an average score? Or how come you buy and spend a lot of money on chess books without improving your chess? And if playing chess online is not an addiction, how come you play Blitz or Bullet until 4 in the morning or 6 in the morning and call in sick at work the next day because you cannot make it? And you can fool yourselves and claim that chess is not an addiction or cannot turn into one when you do one or more of the things I just mentioned, but you cannot fool me because I have done all of them. You might still not believe me, and what you can see on screen is a quote from the great Mikhail Tal, which can be found on the very first page of his book Life and Games of Mikhail Tal. Let's read it out loud. When one of us first plays chess, he is like a man who has caught a dose of microbes. Such a man walks along the street and does not yet know he is ill. He is healthy, he feels fine, but the microbes are doing their work. So if one of the greatest chess players of all times, if not the greatest, likened chess to a disease, we need to take this claim seriously and investigate the reasons for it and what can be done about it. I personally do not see chess exactly as a disease, or not only as a disease, but rather a demon that enslaves you until you become completely consumed by chess and it takes precedence over everything else in your life. And while the degree to which this demon will be in control of your life and yourself varies from one person to another, the fact remains that you are simply not a free person anymore and you're unable to play or you're unable to stop playing even for a week or two. So how can we deal with this demon and how can we be free again and be able to do whatever we want in life and enjoy life the way we used to? First of all, we need to understand why this is happening. And it is happening for the following two reasons. You want to achieve your goal in chess too badly, and you are far or too far from achieving your goal and have been trying for some time. And this is driving you insane and you keep banging your head against the wall. And not only you're not making progress, but things are going from bad to worse. For example, you're stuck in the 1900s, 1800s, 1700s, and not only you're 300 or 400 points from your desired rating, but you keep losing rating points. And this is the moment that the demon is truly laughing at you, and Kaiser, the goddess of chess, has turned away her gaze from you in disgust. This is the time you need to take a step back and reassess everything and try and find a way to turn this around. Now, it goes without saying that I have been through all of this not once, but multiple times, as I am sure you have, and I know how painful it is. Time and time again, I thought how I can turn things around, and I am simply going to cut to the chase here and tell you not only what you need to do in order to get back on track, but to also consistently keep gaining rating points and overcome your obsession. The most common question I see on chess forums is how come I play so well on certain days and so badly on others? And how come I am unable to get back into this winning mode and keep losing instead? To be perfectly honest, I was asking myself that too, and it took me several years to find the answer to this question and to find what I needed to do in order to overcome this. Basically, there are 5 things you need to do. They're listed on screen, as you can see. So number 1, do not play chess if you're not in a condition to play chess. First and foremost, you're not in a condition to play chess when you have not had enough sleep. You may think you know what enough sleep is when it comes to chess, and so did I, until I read an interview with Sergei Karyakin, I believe it was before his match with Magnus Carlsen, where he said he had only had 8 or 10 hours of sleep the night before. This means that Karyakin believes that the optimal number of hours of sleep goes well beyond 8 or 10. And while it might be difficult for someone with a full-time job and a busy lifestyle to get more than that, it might be reasonable to assume that 8 to 10 hours should be the absolute minimum. Boris Spassky has also said in an interview when he was asked how he won his first world title that sleep played a pivotal role, and it was his new trainer at the time who insisted on him getting more sleep. So I believe they're definitely onto something there, and I experienced a rapid improvement in my play when I started getting more sleep and when I stopped playing when I had had not enough sleep. So the simple rule I stick with here is I simply do not play chess if I had gone to bed after 10:30. You're also not in a condition to play chess when you have played too much, and that will affect you in a major way, and you will likely start or keep losing if you try playing when you're tired for any reason or due to overplaying for the following reason. You probably are aware that time controls back in the days were much longer, but it was eventually discovered that too much chess was affecting players' health. This is the reason the current format of the World Championship only involves 12 games of classical chess, as opposed to the huge number of games that were played back in the days. And that is the reason time controls were shortened, basically. So the question then is exactly what chess or playing chess was found to cause to people's health. And the reason for shortening the time control was the fact that it was discovered that players' health was affected by these long time controls and huge number of games. So one thing that comes to mind is that chess involves a lot of thinking that revolves around the principle of attack and defense, not unlike in a real life situation that can be described as a real fight. So being in such a fight or flight mode for several hours per day is known to affect your sympathetic nervous system, also known as the fight or flight nervous system, and creates imbalances between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which in turn, and you can research this if you want, can lead to some very serious health problems. It is precisely for that reason that you start losing, and you're more likely to start losing after playing for many hours in a row. It is because your body is telling you that you are, or what you're doing is not good for me, and if you do not stop, I will simply switch myself off and I will not operate at the level I did 5 hours ago. This is the simple truth that your body is telling you after a certain amount of time that you've played for. And that is the point at which your awareness goes down and your reflexes are not the same, and you start blundering in every game. So everything bad that can actually happen in a game starts to happen. And even every 1600 play you play seems like an unbeatable Gary Kasparov, to a point where you become unable to win any games and your rating is in free fall. So this is extremely important, and is at the top of my list of reasons for underperforming at chess. There is a solution to this, which I will talk about in my next point, about the concept I came up with. And I've called it daily rating gain peak. But before we get to that, what else can be qualified as a condition you're not able to play in? Well, personal problems, for example, which can be anything from a tough day at the office to a quarrel with your wife and so on. Stay away from the chessboard, and never try to make yourself feel good by trying to win at chess because you feel bad about something else in life. You are simply going to lose, and you're going to feel much worse and most likely experience another rating freefall. So to recap everything that was said here, the shortened time control compared to the one that players had 30 or 40 years ago um, was done simply because it was found that playing chess for a long time can actually have a very bad effect on your health. So something to definitely take in mind, and that is precisely the reason why this is at the top of my list. Moving on to the second point, and that is where we come to the concept of daily rating gain peak. Do not play beyond your daily rating gain peak. What is a daily rating gain peak? That is the point in time during your daily play up to which you will be gaining rating points and after which you will be losing rating points. That point is defined by the amount of time spent playing and the number of games played. So think about it. Do you remember gaining rating in the last 5 of the 20 games you just played? The most likely answer to that is no, and the reason for even getting to play 20 games is because you did not gain any rating in the last 5 of the previous 15 games you just played. On the contrary, you were already losing rating and games, and you just kept playing and kept losing. Why this is happening, I explained when I talked about not being in a condition to play. So basically, your brain, your nervous system, your awareness, your reflexes are simply not the same as that of someone that has just started playing, and you will get beat time and time again if you keep falling into this trap. Having said that, you may have noticed that you inevitably get beat in the first 1 or 2 games. So how can what I just said be true? You lose if you play a little, you lose if you play a lot. How can we solve this problem? Well, basically, you need to do 2 things. You need to warm up, and you need to find your daily rating gain peak, or namely, after how many games you start losing points. That will almost entirely eliminate the first losses in rated games to opponents of equal strength, if you choose to warm up with a couple of unrated games, that is. Because you will be playing people that have started playing without warming up, people who are playing beyond their daily rating gain peak. How to find one's daily rating gain peak? I will leave that to you to find out, and I am sure you have plenty of experience you can go based on. I know what mine is, and it's 5 blitz games after having warm up with an unrated game or 2. After these 5 games, I will inevitably start losing points, and if I keep playing, there is no limit to how much I can actually lose. Because nothing melts rating points like the combination of tiredness, anger, and frustration. One way in which you can find your daily rating gain peak is by playing the same number of games per day for a few days in a row. Record the results and then increase the number of games, record the result, and so on. You can then repeat the whole cycle if you want to be certain and prove the consistency of the results. And you may say, oh, but yesterday I played 20 games and I gained 100 rating points. Why can't I do the same today? Which I can say, this is not the first time this is happening. This is not the first time you've done it. And do you remember what happened the last time you tried this? I know, because I have also tried this many times to only fail again and again. You failed miserably, you lost 50 points, the 100 points, which were all of your former gains, and then you lost another 100. And the reason for that is simple, and the sooner you accept this, the better. You cannot consistently play beyond your daily rating gain peak and expect to gain rating points. It is as simple as that. And this is, if you're not going to get anything else from this video, I highly recommend you focus on this particular point, as your rating is simply going to skyrocket after you start applying this principle. Moving on to point number 3, eliminate the element of frustration from losing. Frustration is the one reason that will make the demon take over and make you play beyond your daily rating gain peak. We can all agree that all losses are frustrating, but some losses are more frustrating than others, such as losses against much lower rated opponents. So why is it important to eliminate the element of frustration from losing? Well, because it affects you, and you will simply keep playing if the more frustrated you get. And this happens to everyone. It happens even to Magnus Carlsen. I mean, I'm not saying he plays more the more frustrated he gets, but frustration definitely affects him. You can see how once he loses, he tends to sometimes lose a few games in a row until he recovers psychologically. So what are the possible scenarios that will inevitably lead to frustration? Losing to lower rated opponents. In order to avoid this, you will need to simply set the rating range for your games from 50 points below your current level and 100 above, but not more than your rating goal level. For example, if you want to be 1900 and are currently 1700, set it to 1650 to 1800, and if you are, however, 1830, set it to 1780 to 1900. And the reason for that is simple, and that is that you are much more likely to lose against a much higher rated opponent, and losing to much higher rated opponents can also be very frustrating, as it often feels that they're not that much better than us, but somehow they win by luck or by us making a mouse slip or another completely invented reason we may come up with in order to justify losing to such players, when the reason is in fact us and nothing else. Also, the chances that if you have never been 1900, anyone that is consistently playing above this level is significantly stronger than you, and they're more likely to beat you. This is a very simple fact. Another thing that can cause a lot of frustration is losing in winning positions, and to me that is the most frustrating thing in chess, and I highly suggest that you watch my video I devoted to solving this problem, and it's called Mastering the Most Difficult Thing in Chess, Winning the One Game. In fact, my rating completely exploded when I started combining the principles and the method I talk about in this video with the daily rating gain peak concept that I just discussed. And I can assure you that doing the same will give you a significant edge over 99% of the opponents in your current rating class. Another thing that can cause frustration is just losing points in general. And when does one lose points in general? Simply when you go beyond your daily rating gain peak. So this one is simple, just don't do it. Now we come to the fourth point, and that is focus on learning and not playing. The truth of this statement should be an obvious fact, yet we so often ignore it. Playing itself, in my opinion, has very little effect on improving compared to learning and fully understanding the reasons for certain outcomes in chess, namely winning or losing, and such understanding can be achieved only through constant analysis of your games. If you think about it, is there really any point in playing for 5 hours incurring the same losses in the same openings when you already have hundreds of unstudied examples of the same? In fact, in my opinions, very few things can stop you from achieving your goals in chess, like overplaying combined with understudying. And that is a trap one must avoid at all costs. Number 5, have a realistic goal in chess. And what is, for example, not a realistic goal in chess? A good example of a non-realistic goal in chess is a 1600 player who wants to be a candidate master or 2200 and thinks that this can be done in a couple of years. I'm not saying that is impossible. It clearly isn't, but it is not possible for everyone, and it is not possible for most people. I would say maybe 95% of all people. So what I suggest is that whatever goal you have, realistic or non-realistic, you break it down into smaller steps, smaller goals, which are easier to achieve in order to find out how far you really are from achieving your master goal. And that would mean that if you are 1600, a more realistic goal worth more focusing on is to say get to 1800, 2000, and so on. It's precisely the fact that you're too far from achieving your goal that makes you go deeper and deeper and in this obsession of constant playing, which as we already know, leads to nothing good. So adding these smaller goals or stepping stones on the way to the master goal will give you the comfort and the confidence to carry on, while putting less pressure on yourself, and will give you a realistic time scale as to whether your goal is actually achievable. In conclusion, I must say that subduing the demon of chess is not just about chess. It is about gaining control of your life, and it is about liberating yourself from an influence that is affecting your finances, it is affecting your health and your relationship with others. And by following these 5 steps, you can get rid of this influence while achieving your goals in chess and becoming a strong player at the same time. So I hope I have given you the tools in order to accomplish this, and thanks for watching.